Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be joining from. I am HR Funk, and welcome to HR's Firing Line. This is a show that is entirely driven by you, your comments, your questions, and your participation. And as always, if you would like to join as a guest, please send me an email at hrfunk@zoominternet.net. I will send you a link to the show, and you can join either by video and audio, and we can have a discussion back and forth, or you can join by audio only. If you don't want people to see you this early in the morning, that's fine. Or I suppose you could join by video only, but if you do that, then it's going to be kind of hard to have a conversation because I'm not very good at lip reading. This is the pre-Christmas show, and I hope all of you are farther ahead in your Christmas shopping than I am. I am one of these people who is, waiting till the last minute to get out and finish my shopping and get things for all the people I need to get things for. Which do you know some of these people? Mimi is like this, who goes out and starts to buy Christmas gifts in like February, and then gets them all throughout the year. And all of a sudden, by the time Christmas rolls around, she is in pretty good shape. Whereas for me, I'm not thinking about Christmas in February. I'm thinking about what I'm doing in February and then I'm thinking about what I'm doing in July. And then somewhere, 3 or 4 weeks after Thanksgiving, it occurs to me that I should probably go out and do some Christmas shopping because it's then Christmas time. But that's just the way I go about it every year. And I guess I should be used to it by now. I'm not really complaining. But again, I hope all of you are doing very well. And I see we've got Art Grote. He was here waiting early for the show to start. Elaine's Domain is here, Gunfighter 45 ACP, and Rabbi. Buenos dias to you, Rabbi, and happy Hanukkah to you. I know it's a little bit late, but I'll throw that out there as well. And to anyone else, if you celebrate any other holidays this time of year, this time of year, I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. I hope you get to celebrate it with friends and family. And I hope this is a joyous time of year for you. I've got a couple of things that I was thinking about doing on the show today, and these were both concepts for videos that I was thinking about a while back. And then I thought, I just don't know if that's going to be good enough material or enough material really to support an entire video. But I thought it might be good topics for a live stream. So I thought I would throw this out today. It might be fun for the discussion. One of them is the guns and gear from catalogs when we were kids. Now, for those of you youngsters out there, catalogs are kind of like a manual version of the internet. You actually have to use your hands and flip pages to be able to see things that you might want to buy or things that are being offered by various retailers out there. It's sort of like the slow version of Amazon. Or I guess it can be fast if you just sort of sift through them very quickly. Maybe they even move a little bit from picture to picture or page to page. But I was thinking about this recently, and I see Rabbi observes all holidays and mostly extra time off. Good for you, Rabbi. Fantastic. I was thinking about this recently because, this time of year comes around and you think back to being a kid. And I remember those gigantic catalogs we used to get from J.C. Penney, or we would get them from Sears. We had a store around here that was called Service Merchandise that, again, had a gigantic catalog. And there was always that section somewhere about 2/3 of the way through that had sporting goods. And when you go through the sporting goods, just like in the old department stores, you would come to the hunting section and the outdoor section. And there were usually about 3 pages of firearms in there that would jump out at you. And there were also others. There were some of the specialty catalogs. We had Gander Mountain back in the day. I don't know if some of you remember those. Cabela's started out as a catalog service back before they had stores. And you would get those things that would come around this time of year. There was one called, was it Fox Creek Outfitters? Something like that, that had nothing but hunting and shooting. There were some of them that back in those days, as with in most states today, you could order black powder firearms. So there'd be some of them with pages of black powder firearms. So I was thinking back about some of those, and the ones that I remember most when I was a kid, and let me know what you guys remember too. That there would be the page. There was always the page with shotguns, and there would be like the Remington 870s and the Winchesters, and there are usually a Marlin or two listed in the shotguns. Normally 12 gauge pump action shotguns. and you would flip the page, and then there would be center fire rifles. There would be some Remington 700s, and these were the department store versions. They weren't really very deluxe, but there was like the Remington 700s, the Winchester Model 70s. There would usually a lever action or two, some Marlin 336s or whatever in there. And then you would flip to the next page, and that would be all the rim fires. And those were the ones back when I was a kid that I'd get to that page. I'm like, wow, I'm looking at the Ruger 1022s and the Marlin Model 60s and the Remington Nylon 66. And there was always the Marlin Model 39A, which was like the gold standard when I was a kid, back when all the Westerns were on TV, and we would be watching whatever, Gunsmoke or Bonanza, and they always had the lever action rifles. And I'm looking at those lever action Marlin 39A. That was like the coolest firearm in the entire catalog when I was a kid. So let me know what you guys think about what you think was the coolest firearm you saw back in the day in those old catalogs. And I've been ignoring the comments over here. I apologize for that. Rabbi's talking about the toy catalog. The toys were always in those gigantic catalogs. Like the last 25% was almost always toys, especially this time of year. So when I was even younger, before I was looking at guns, that's where you go to and you see all the toys. But I think, wow, the Hot Wheels cars, or the toy trains that you could get and things like that were just phenomenal. And I always wanted one of those remote control airplanes. I've never had one of those things. But remember those back? They would be somewhere back in there that would have the remote control in the airplane. And it was the old Cox, gas powered airplanes. You would put the fuel in and you would start it up, and the propeller would like make the thing fly. It's probably a good thing I didn't have one of those things, because who knows what I would have crashed it into. But that was another one of those things in the very back of the catalog. I'm like, wow, that's the coolest thing. Anyway, back to the comments here. ED hit the store yesterday. Good for you. Gander Mountain's a physical store. Yeah, I know. And we have a couple of those not too far away. In fact, one of them is up very near to where ERJG lives. I don't know if he's going to be with us this morning or not. There's another one that's down Columbus way. The one in Columbus, I think, is probably the smallest of all the Gander Mountain stores I've ever been into. You go into it and it's just, I don't know, you feel like you're walking into a drugstore or shoe store or something like that. It just doesn't seem that big. Now it's actually larger than those, but it just seems small for a Gander Mountain. There's another good one, good size one in Parkersburg. I think Parkersburg, West Virginia. I've been to that one before too. A huge one up in Michigan, not all that far away. Gunfighter 45 ACP is still working his way through the Rock Island auction catalog from their Texas a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's right. It's not the what was that catalog back in the day that had the women's lingerie, and the store is still around. I can't even think of it. Oh, Victoria's. Yeah, it's not the Victoria's Secret catalog for some of us. It's those, the gun auction catalogs and things like that. I suppose that's probably a concern to psychiatrists everywhere in the country. Lucky one, first shotgun was Montgomery Ward's. I forgot about Montgomery Ward's. They had firearms back in the day too, and that was another one of those gigantic catalogs that would come out. Rabbi Marlin D60 was the first gun, and I think I mentioned this. I don't remember if it was a live stream or when it was. I was talking about this recently, but the last time I was in House of Pain Armament, they had a Marlin Model 60 there that's used. It's not in real good shape. They want, I don't know, a couple $100 for the thing. And it keeps calling to me every time I go in there. I don't need it. I know it's just triggering that memory from back when I was a kid, and I would see those things and think, "Oh man, that's so cool." My friend had a, I think it was a Savage or a Stevens. Maybe it was a Stevens. He had a semi-automatic 22, and he was the first one of my group of friends to have a semi-automatic rifle. And I can remember going out with him and shooting that thing. That was a lot of fun. A good rifle. The thing shot well for, an older firearm like that. But that was one of the ones I had some early experience with. ED first gun was a 1022. Another good firearm. I didn't get a 1022 until I was like, I don't know, 30 or something like that. No, I guess I wasn't quite that old. I guess I was in my 20s before I finally got a 1022 of my own. That was one of those that I had wanted for a long time, finally got it, still have it. It's actually up here on the shelf beside me, but it's been modified. If you saw the videos that I did a while back, I've added some things to it, and new stock, new barrel, and things like that. So it's not quite in the configuration it was in when I started out, but I can put it back into that configuration anytime I want to. So I still have all the parts. Bill, good morning to you and happy holidays as well. Tony York, Sears. Yes, Sears was the big one. Montgomery Wards, J.C. Penney, like I talked about. There were a bunch of them back in the day. That was always kind of exciting when you would get home one day and you would see like a new catalog came in the mail, especially this time of year, as you when you were a kid and you could start looking through those things. Like the kid in Christmas Vacation trying to strategically leave it someplace where your parents would see it. Open just to that page with a big circle around it and exclamation points next to it and things like that. Those subtle hints like that. 18 wins again. Remember in 69 getting the electronic football game and the carom board. I'm not sure what a carom board is, unless that's a misspelling. Big Christmas for you. That's cool. And I remember those old electronic football games where you put the players down and you would turn it on. And they would sort of vibrate around and run into each other and accidentally go different directions. But it didn't matter. It was all fun back when we were kids. The old slot racetrack race cars where you would have the control and you would hold it down and make them go faster or slower, and usually you'd make them go too fast around the corner and they would fly off the track and you'd have to go pick it up and put it back on and keep going. And then you would argue with the other, like me, I would argue with my brother about whether or not that counted, or if now you were a lap behind or something like that as far as who was going to win the race. But it was all part of it. Western Auto used to sell guns. Yes, they did. I can remember going in. We had a Western Auto store in the town where I grew up. And I can remember going in there and they had firearms and ammunition and things like that. In fact, I think my grandfather's pistol that I have in the safe back here behind me might have come from Western Auto. The paperwork is in the box. I got to pull that out and see if there's a receipt or anything in there to indicate where he bought that thing. But it may well have come from that Western Auto store. Lucky one, my grandparents bought their house from a Sears catalog. Wow, I didn't know they ever sold houses. Scott from South Carolina. We had the slot cars, and the hobby shop had a big track. Cool. Tony York, my youngest daughter lives in a Sears. I never knew Sears sold houses, so that's kind of cool. I learned something, which is painful as always. By the way, I hope you'll excuse me. I have my cup of cheer here, which is actually just 100% partly coffee. Ace Hardware still sells. Yeah, we have an Ace Hardware here that still sells firearms. In fact, they have a pretty decent selection. It's what I would call kind of the lower tier. I mean, you don't go in there and see the real high end, whatever Brownings or Winchesters or whatever, but they have a decent selection of what I would call hardware grade firearms, handguns, rifles, shotguns. Um, the prices range from okay to not so okay, but the ammunition is the stuff that they have in there that is just I don't know. I guess maybe they dropped the prices on some of their firearms to try to move them, and then they raised the prices on their ammunition to try to make their profit on the ammo, because some of that stuff is pretty pricey. Scott from South Carolina, Sears sold home kits to build yourself. I never knew that. I never knew they sold home kits. I'd have been kind of leery of that. I remember back in the comic books back in the day where they always had the Jeep that you could buy. There was always the thing, buy this Jeep for $50. And I can remember I always wanted one of those $50 Jeeps, and supposedly it came in a box and you had to put it all together or something. But I never saw one of those Jeeps that somebody said came from the comic book ad. But if you know somebody who has one, let me know. Gene, I'm going to try to pronounce your last name correctly. I think it's Prus, Pre Preuss. Sears sold houses. Knew several folks who built Sears houses. Think they also sold Electrolux, the all metal houses. All right. So that's cool. And from the sounds of things, they must have sold a lot of them since there are several people have commented they either have one or know somebody that has one. But there were always those cool things in the catalogs back then. And I don't know. Do we get the same experience on the internet these days? I I don't know. Obviously not being a kid anymore. I don't know if it's quite the same experience if you dial up whatever, toys.com or whatever, and look at it. Maybe I'm romanticizing, but I don't think so. I don't think that's quite the same thing. I know if we look at firearms these days online, there's a lot of information. I don't know. Maybe it was something about the photographs. They always had those really great photographs on the glossy paper that made them look so nice. I don't know. It seems different, but maybe I'm just remembering it different. Elaine's Domain, the kits had numbers on the lumber, shipped by train in the 1930s. So kind of like furniture from what's that store that everybody goes to? Gigantic store sells all the furniture. Mimi loves to go there whenever we get down to Columbus. It's on the other side of the highway from Cabela's. Anyway, it's like that furniture you put together with all the letters that help you with the construction. Frog 5, smell from the catalog ink got us high. That was what was so great about it. Rabbi, the magic is gone. Yeah. Is it just us? Have we just gotten older, so there's just not that sense of I don't know, wonder and magic nowadays that there used to be? Again, IKEA, that's the name of that store. I couldn't think of that to save my life. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like when you look back at those days, everything from the movies on TVs to going shopping downtown and all of that. And where I grew up was very much like a Norman Rockwell, Midwest setting, city of Ashland, Ohio, if any of you are familiar with it. And back in those days, they had the gigantic, decorations all up on the streetlight poles and things like that. And when I hear the song, I'm playing in my mind to get to that title. Silver Bells. When I hear that, it makes me think of my hometown back in the day during Christmas time. And Santa Claus actually had a little house that they would construct every year that he would sit in. And I don't know who was Santa Claus back in those days, but it was cold. He would have a little heater in there. And I hope it kept him warm so he wasn't freezing to death. But it was always the big thing. And Santa Claus had his little house right beside the J.C. Penney's store that was in the middle of downtown. So, you would go and talk to Santa Claus, you would go inside the store, everybody's buying things there, and there were all the downtown stores. This was really, there were malls at the time, and there was one in the not too distant city of Mansfield, Ohio. In fact, I think that mall is still there. That my parents would go to periodically, but a lot of our Christmas shopping was in that downtown area, and you would get the new clothes. What kid wants clothes? Here's a new pair of jeans. Oh wow, all right, great. But the hardware store that was behind the J.C. Penney's had a basement floor, and I guess now I think about it, J.C. Penney's had a basement floor too. That was their toy section, so that's the one you can't wait to get down to, and you're pointing out to your parents all the things that you want Santa Claus to bring. And I don't know, I just things just seem different nowadays, I guess, and I guess I'm lamenting that. Henry Schmidt, my dad got a water heater from Sears, and it lasted for 45 years. Now that's when they were built to last. 18 wins again. I got a Glenfield 25 from a store in Virginia. Murphy Smart or JC Murphy. Really? Okay. Floridian, don't shoot your eye out with your Red Ryder BB gun. You know what? That Ace Hardware store that I was just talking about a little while ago, I was in there a couple of days ago for something, and they've got a Daisy Red Ryder, the one just like from the movie in the box with Red Ryder on the front and all that. And I think it's 35 bucks or something. And I keep keep thinking about going back and buying that thing just to have one. I'm such a fan of that movie, and it would be something fun to hang on the wall or whatever. I haven't done it yet, but I haven't ruled out that possibility. Or I can maybe get it and give it to my son. He's a fan of that movie too. And Lucky One is talking about the movie A Christmas Story was all about my hometown. The movie says it was in Homan, Indiana, but it's really Hammond, Indiana. The State Street was really like the movie shows. Okay, cool. And the downtown sequence of that was filmed in Cleveland, Ohio. In fact, it was right on the square in Cleveland. The store that they show, that was, I think that was Higbee's back in the day. And so they show the downtown scene and the parade going through in that scene. That's all people, from the Cleveland area that were part of that. So I mean, there's and the Christmas Story house is in Cleveland. We went up there a few years ago, and I guess only the outside scenes were recorded there. The inside the house scenes were recorded in a studio back in California or someplace. But they have redone the inside of the house so that it more or less resembles the movie. And going in there and walking through and everything was a lot of fun. And then of course they had the gift store across the street, so there's all kinds of memorabilia. You can buy your own Red Ryder, or you can get your own pink bunny suit or or whatever. But that was a lot of fun. I wouldn't mind going back up there again sometime. Tony York used to have a Murphy's Mart in Central Illinois, and I don't remember Murphy's Marts around here anywhere, so I'm not familiar with that store. Ashland is where Tim Richmond was from, a NASCAR star who passed away in 1989. Tim Richmond. Tim Richmond. Trying to think if I remember the name from my parents still live in the Ashland area. They're actually just north of Ashland now, but I don't remember the Richmond name from around there. I didn't go to school in Ashland. I actually, when I was growing up, we lived north of Ashland, and my school district was a huge school district that actually took up part of Ashland County and part of Richland County. And my elementary school was in Ashland County, but the high school that I went to was in Richland County. It was Crestview High School, which was actually closer to the city of Mansfield that I mentioned a little while ago. And so my friends and acquaintances and the people that I went to school with and I knew really well are from sort of that northern Ashland, northern Richland conglomerate area. And the people who actually lived in Ashland, although I was in Ashland all the time, traveled there, I didn't grow up with a lot of people, so I don't know as many as you might expect for that being my hometown. Lucky one, they had to put a fence around the school's flagpole because so many. That's of course they're going to do that, and probably doing the same thing they do in the movie. I dare you, I double dog dare you. Mark Nagel, get that Red Ryder. I might go back and get that thing. Is a Red Ryder review coming up? I don't know. I'm afraid I might shoot my eye out. The Richmond family owned an auger manufacturer company for farming. Now, my grandparents were lifelong farmers, and of course, they used augers for various things. Hmm. Do you happen to know the name of the business? Because I'll bet it will be something I've heard of. I never really could embrace the farming lifestyle. I was the kid growing up on a farm that couldn't wait to get off the farm and go off to a life of adventure. Join the Marine Corps, see the world, come back and go into law enforcement, all that. I was the kid that was always dreaming of, this life of excitement and, whatever. danger and catching bad guys and all that kind of thing. And it's funny because all these years later, I look now at kind of that. I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but I look at sort of the simple life of farmings, and I really see it now in a different light. There is that I guess sense of people of the earth. We obviously need our farmers. I am so happy for all of them, to include my brother, because I like to eat. So, yeah, even though and it's kind of a full circle thing for me. I still love farm country. I like going out, walking in nature, in the fields, in the woods, things like that. But uh, yeah, I just couldn't wait to get away from that though when I was a kid. Terry Barnes, good morning to you from Kentucky. Gunfighter 45 ACP, Christmas movies. Is LA Confidential a Christmas movie? Wow. Yeah, I like that movie. I have not seen it for a while. I'm going to say yes. I think there's enough Christmas reference. They have the incident on Christmas Eve. They show Bud White, with the guy that's tearing the Christmas lights off the front of his house at the very beginning of the movie. Um, I think so. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say L.A. Confidential is a Christmas movie. I guess if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then L.A. Confidential is a Christmas movie. What are we up to here? I'm not even looking at the time. All right, doing fantastic. Got 43 people in here. That's tremendous. And we're about 26 minutes. I'm planning on running the show for about an hour today, just so everybody knows. And by the way, this is going to be my last live appearance in 2023. I've got the year-end video. I was working on that yesterday. It's going to go live between Christmas and New Year's, and I'm trying to decide if I want to have that go live on Saturday, like I normally would, which will be the 30th of December. That'll be New Year's Eve. Uh, or if I want to maybe let it go live on Friday, the day before people start their early celebrating of New Year's and all that, to maybe the video will do a little bit better. So if it comes out on Friday the 29th, that's the reason why. That just means I decided to let it go live that day. But I know a lot of you also have that expectation for a movie on Saturday, or not a movie, but a video on Saturday morning. So maybe I'll go that route instead, and just have the normal 8 o'clock Saturday video that'll come on, and then that will be the last video for 2023. But rest assured, I already have ideas in mind for 2024, and all I've got to do is start fresh the new year when the calendar, we turn the page on the calendar, and the videos will be right back up. By the way, that reminds me of another thing that I was going to talk about today. And this was another thing that I had for a video concept, and I was going back and forth on this, and I just decided it wasn't substantial enough to support its own video. But again, I thought it would be a fun topic for a live stream. At the very beginning of 2023, I think it was my first video of the year. I produced a video where I said it was basically the guns and gear I'd like to see in 2023. And I had a list of 12 things. And I decided to go back and take a look at this and see what actually came to pass and what didn't. And I'll give you a little bit of a warning. Most of the things I talked about didn't come to pass, but a couple of them actually did. These are not in the same order that they were in the video, just so you know. So if you watch that video, I'm going to go through it in a different order. One of the things I mentioned I'd like to see in 2023 was an end to the whole pistol brace nonsense. If you remember back at the end of 2022, that was still very much up in the air. We didn't know what was coming exactly. And of course, we got shortly after the first of the year, what was it, like January 26th, we got slammed with that whole thing where there was the period that everybody had to register their pistols as SBRs or get rid of the brace or do whatever and all that crap. It looks like we more or less that kind of came true. I think we're almost done with that. It looks like it's in its final gasps. The ATF, I think, still has some legislative wrangling that they might want to do, but it's looking favorable that we're going to see an end to the pistol brace garbage, and people will once again be able to have their braced pistols if they want to. Now, a lot of you know I did the SBR thing with mine. In fact, it's been in a video or two since then, and I like it as an SBR. I prefer it as an SBR, so that worked out as a way for me to do that without having to cough up $200 to do it the other way. But for those of you that prefer the brace pistols and didn't want to do the whole registration thing, I think that we're coming up to the end of that silliness. I also said I was hoping we'd see a repro scope of the M40A1 sniper rifle, a repro of the Unertl scope, like US Optics had done, and no, we didn't see that. So no optics manufacturers decided to pick that up as something. I was hoping we would come up with somebody would develop a simulator, firearms training simulator that would work with our big screen TVs. So, in the wintertime when it's hard to get to the range or nasty out or whatever, we could use that. And I talked about in the video with all the video game technology that there is out there now. I didn't think it would be too much of a stretch for somebody to be able to do that. And we've not seen it yet. I still think that's something that could be developed. I hold out hope for it. When I go to the NRA show every year, it seems like there are various people there who have firearms training simulator systems, but they usually rely on some type of a projector, and you've got to have a laptop or some other type of computer that it relies on, and you need other pieces of equipment. I would like to see something that you could basically just plug into your TV, maybe a laser type device that could insert into the barrel of your actual carry handgun, and then have a simulation or various simulations that are well thought out, from a legal standpoint, that react to the shots fired as they would depending on where the shots hit and all that type of thing. But so far we haven't seen that. This is one. This would be so easy, but given the circumstances we're seeing in Israel right now, I don't know that we're going to see this anytime soon. A lot of I'm a big fan of the IWI Masada, and a couple of years ago they started to produce frames in different colors. That's a modular system, so you can take the chassis out of one frame and put it in the other. And I'd like to see the frames, the different color frames, offered as a component part. And no, we didn't see that. So if you want a different frame color for your Masada, you have to buy an entirely different pistol. Although I did get the Masada Slim this year, and I very much like that handgun. I was hoping Ruger/Marlin would reintroduce the Marlin 444 outfitter for the 444 Marlin cartridge. And that hasn't happened. By the way, Floridian says he likes my military issue Santa cover. Yeah, this is actually, I should put the Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor right here, because this is the official issue Santa cover. I was hoping to see a universal pistol mounting optic system come out this year, something that would do away with all the plates and adapters and having to have different slides machined depending on which optics you were going to use and all that type of thing. We kind of saw that. We took a step that direction with the Springfield Armory Echelon. The most impressive thing about that handgun when I reviewed it was that optic mounting platform that would allow different optics with different footprints, if you will, to be mounted without the need for plates or one thing and another. I hope that concept picks up. I hope other manufacturers, now I'm sure Springfield Armory has patented that system, but I hope some similar thing is developed by other manufacturers so we can finally see an end to that whole plate and adapter thing. I knew this one was going to be wishful thinking when I put it in the video, but I said that I hoped FN/Browning would reintroduce a real Browning high power as opposed to that behemoth thing that FN came up with a year or so ago. And no, they haven't. But we are seeing a lot of traditional P35 style pistols that are being put out by other manufacturers, and a lot of them are pretty good. And of course, BH Spring Solutions is there to do any work you might need done on your P35 from any manufacturer. So at least we still have P35s out there. We can still enjoy that traditional style pistol. And I'm still trying to get one of the small compact ones that EAA is now importing. I'd like to try out one of their lightweight compact P35 pistols. So if I can get my hands on one of those coming up in 2024, you're going to see that in a video. I said that I hoped one of the things I'd like to see was that Google and YouTube would back off their restrictions on firearm related content. And no, that hasn't happened. So I struck out on that one. This one actually did happen and is continuing to happen, albeit at the demise of a historic factory. I said that a year ago, the only new Remington firearms I'd seen since the new company took over manufacturing were some newer 870s that had been produced. And I said I wanted to see that line expanded so we would see some of the other traditional Remington firearms back on the market. And some of you know that I've recently reviewed a newly manufactured Remington 700. So they're back to building those again. They have several different variations of the 700. I think they have a couple of different variations of the 870. So they are moving the manufacturing, and I really, really hate to see that historic factory in Ilion, New York, shut down. I hate to see those folks there losing their jobs. I hope some of them are able to make the move to the new manufacturing facility in Georgia, but I really hope to see that historic brand come back. I hope to see the quality restored. I hope we see some of those legacy products back out on the shelves in the gun shops in the coming months. So we did see some improvement or some movement there. I said that if you guys saw the video that I made with the targets, where I talked about the different targets and different postures with some input from the medical community on where exactly internal organs would be located if someone was in this type of a stance or this type of posture or whatever, with some idea of how effective bullets might be striking those areas and making them very realistic looking, basically photographic type targets. We haven't really seen the targets that I was talking about yet. Usually we get some sort of a kind of generic, this is the vital zone, or this is the, instant neutralization zone or whatever. It's not really the degree to which I would like to see that diagram. And we also really don't see all the various postures that I would like to see. And people, the same people in various different postures with a lot of different photographs of different people. So maybe we'll see that at some point in the future, but we're just not seeing it yet. I don't. This is one people have been talking about for a long time, and I just don't know that I see it happening now. I said that I hoped we would see Smith & Wesson reproduce a classic line of their traditional semi-auto handguns, the old model 59s or 39s, updated to, whatever they want to call it nowadays, but those old traditional handguns. And nowadays I'm with what I've seen come out of Smith & Wesson over the last year, much of which has just not enthused me all that much. And with what I see them doing with the revolvers, recently on a trip to South Carolina, I was in Columbia, South Carolina, then I went into Shooter's Choice, and I was there on Black Friday. This was a Black Friday sale. And I was looking at some of the Smith & Wesson revolvers that they had in the case there, and it's difficult to get a Smith & Wesson revolver under $1,000. Most of them are $1,000 or more. And with the idea of them reproducing a classic line of semi-autos, I'm afraid they would be priced so high that nobody would ever buy the things. And Smith and Wesson come back and say, "See, that's why we didn't build the things in the first place," and they'd be very quickly discontinued. Um, this is, I don't know what's going to happen with our U.S. firearms manufacturing. It just seems like the prices are getting so high that they're almost out of range for the average U.S. purchaser. And with what we've seen with some of the imported firearms, over the last year, I've talked a lot about the Turkish manufactured firearms. I had one that's manufactured, trying to think where BRG came from. And off the top of my head, it won't come to me. It was, I don't think it was Hungary. I think it was a different country in that region of Eastern Europe, and I just can't think right now. But with what we're seeing quality wise coming out of those countries, some of the reproductions like the P-35 high power that are coming out of there that are very good firearms, and the price that they're able to sell them for as compared to what we're seeing with domestic manufacturing, I don't know. I worry about our U.S. manufacturing, firearms manufacturing industry, and how long they're going to be able to stay competitive. It reminds me, and somebody else, I think Roy Kiefer mentioned this a while back in one of our Saturday morning chats, that it's similar to what we saw back in the 1970s in the automotive industry, where the U.S. manufacturers were building these, gigantic cars. They were expensive, and all of a sudden we started seeing Japanese imports that were smaller, less expensive. They lasted longer, and a lot of people gravitated that way. And fortunately, the U.S. manufacturing auto industry was able to sort of bounce back from that. Now a lot of the ways they did that was by starting to manufacture things overseas and reduce their manufacturing costs and all that kind of things. But at least they're still around, and they're competitive in the market these days. Uh, Hopefully, we'll see our firearms industry do the same thing, but I don't know. Time will tell on that one. And similar to that, the last thing I had on that list was I wanted to see ammunition prices come back to our pre-COVID levels, and we've kind of seen that some with some of the handgun ammunition, some of it, like the 9 millimeter ammunition has kind of come down some. We've seen it a little bit with 556 ammunition. That high volume ammunition has come down some, but you look at a box of 38 special ammunition, or you look at a box of 35 Remington ammunition or something like that, 30 30 30, plain old 30 30. I saw some of that not too long ago that was like $38, $36, something like that, for a 20 round box of 30 30 ammunition. So we haven't really seen that come down yet. But in any case, that was my list of things that I was hoping to see in 2023, and at least a few of them actually kind of sort of happened. Most of them, about 75%, did not. But at least we saw a few positive things in this past 12 months. And again, I've been completely ignoring the comments over here, so I will jump back and see what I missed. ERJG 1954 is here, so I'm glad he joined us. And I don't know where I left off in the comments. So Richmond Manufacturing was apparently the name of that company, and that doesn't sound familiar with me, or to me. So I'm really surprised that I don't know that name. Craig Ben's 30th is the penultimate day of 2023. I don't know why, but I'll take your word for it. And by the way, tomorrow is the winter solstice. So tomorrow is, for us in the northern hemisphere, the shortest hours of daylight, the longest night of the year, I guess, if you will. So tomorrow, there's probably not much reason to turn your lights off if you live anywhere in the northern part of the U.S., or definitely going up into Canada or Alaska. May as well just leave those suckers on, because we are not going to see much sunlight tomorrow. ED, wife is mad as hell about the pistol brace. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see an end to that. It's It looks like it's in its final days. I think it's just a matter of waiting for it to finally die, and then we'll be done with it once and for all. Rabbi is driving and listening. Thank you, Rabbi, and be careful while you're driving. Scott from South Carolina, we has a shooting range. The thing I don't like about some of the video game shooting things, going all the way back to Duck Hunt, is there's no context for it. You know what I mean? It doesn't. If you've ever used an actual firearm simulator where it's got you walking through a mall or walking down the street or sitting in a restaurant or whatever, and people are walking by and this is happening and that's happening, and then all of a sudden something dangerous happens and you have to react to it, and you have to react appropriately. So there's always that judgmental aspect. It's far beyond shoot, don't shoot. It might be, especially for non-law enforcement or military, can I extract myself from this situation? Can I take cover? Uh, do I have to engage? If I do engage, and with the simulators, the good ones, the image on screen will react to where the shots hit. The really good ones actually allow you to set it up on a range, and you can use live ammunition with your actual firearms. And a hit that's not in a vital zone might, the image will react to it, but not necessarily be out of the fight. Whereas a hit to a vital zone, they might drop right there. They might go down and you think they're down, all of a sudden they get back up. So there's all those different aspects to it with an actual firearm simulator that aren't really there in the video game. I mean, it might give you uh, sight alignment and trigger control and all that as you're trying to hit various targets, but there are not all the other aspects that a true training simulator has that a video game just doesn't. And where was I? Red Mountain looks to be developing a Unertl M40 copy. That's cool. I did not know that, but I will look into that. Tony York, I already see morons shooting their TVs. Well, people who sell TVs will be happy about that, I guess. A household TV has no system built into it that can detect it. I know, and it would have to be in the firearm, or the firearm insert would have to. And I'm going to put this in very generic terms because I can't. I'm not a high tech person, but whatever is in the firearm would have to see where those shots hit and be able to interpret that and then transmit that information, into whatever the system is that's plugged into the TV. So it would take somebody with a lot more technical knowledge than I have to put it together. I think it's doable. The very fact that the video games work the way they do with the TV, I think would make it something that could be developed. But there would also obviously have to be a profit margin there. Somebody would have to be able to look at, can I develop this thing and then turn around and make money with it? I think they would be able to if they developed a good one. 3 Jeep Discovery purchased my IWI Masada from your review, and it's great. I like both my full size Masada and my Masada 9S. They're a couple of my favorite handguns. Henry Schmidt, any thoughts on doing a review of SIG's new hunting rifles? I would like to do some different rifles, and if I can get some, I will. The folks at House of Pain are great at loaning me firearms, and I know they've got quite a few rifles over there. So maybe we'll see if I can get some of those in to review. Craig Benz, I'll stick with the B8s. Tony York, it's tough to pay $1,000 for a handgun that ain't 44 Magnum. I know. At House of Pain, they've got one of the new. It's one of the new ones. It's not one of the old ones, but one of the new Model 27s, and I think it's a 4-inch that I've looked at a couple of times, and it's like 1150, 1200, something like that. It's a little more than I've felt like paying when I've been in there, but I don't know. Maybe I'll decide to try to make a trade or something like that and see if I can get that thing. It'd be fun to review one of the new Model 27s. Mr. Goldenrod, U.S. gun manufacturers are padding the legal funds. I think that's part of it. I think a lot of the EPA regulations play into it. Obviously, manufacturing, personnel costs, labor plays into it. So I think there are a lot of things that come into the prices that we're seeing in these firearms. Tony York got 22 long rifle down to 5 cents per round, but it's going back up from what. Yeah, I see that. It, the price of ammunition is so volatile. All you need is for the right politician to say the right thing, and the shelves are bare and the prices are skyrocketing. We saw that what's it been, a month or so back, where it wasn't even true. Somebody had said that Lake City manufacturing was going to cease all manufacturing ammunition coming to the commercial market, and it wasn't even true. And shelves were bare and prices shot up. Jeff Tim, notification was a little late. Sorry about that, Jeff. And I probably should have fired things up. The sooner that I get the live stream set up, regardless of what time that I'm going to actually go live with it, I think drives when the notifications go out. And of course, YouTube being YouTube, is not too speedy with those anyway. But I that might have been slightly my fault as well. And I didn't do my usual announcement video where I talk about, hey, there's going to be a live stream at such and such a time today. So I apologize for that. Correction, Red Star is working on a Unertl M40A1 scope. And I think that's the one that I'm talking about. It's the old Unertl that was used on the M40A1 sniper rifle. Gene Proust, yeah, that's what I was trying to say and having a difficult time saying it about the registering the hits on the TV. Tony York, daughter number 3 figured out at age 5 that she couldn't bounce the Nintendo gun off the side wall, that she could bounce the Nintendo gun off a side wall and never miss. I did like playing Duck Hunt back in the day. I thought that was fun. One of the kids had that on the old video game system, so you'd sit there and play Duck Hunt and shoot the ducks and all that. That was fun. That tells you how old I am as far as playing video games goes. Because a lot of the youngsters are going, Duck Hunt? What's that? Paul Puglia, in Michigan, there are shooting ranges that you can't rapid fire any guns or rifle. Is it like that in Ohio? Probably. The ranges that I go to are not like that, but there are probably some, depending on where they're located and what their rules are from their insurance carrier and whatever else. So I wouldn't be surprised. California wanted to serialize ammo. Yeah, that silliness comes around periodically. I've heard about that. Oh, geez, for probably a couple of decades that somebody somewhere wants to serialize every round of ammunition. Floridian, like you're safe in the background with the IWI sticker. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of decorate that thing. My other safe beside me here has some decorations on it too. So gives a little bit of personality. Cabela's Big Game Hunter was fun for the early Nintendo video. I had that, only I had it on a computer. I had it on an old I don't even know what that computer was. In fact, now that I think about it, it might be the first computer that I ever owned. It was on a Dell or something. But it didn't work with the Nintendo pistol. It worked with What was it? I must have had to push a button on the keyboard or something to get it to fire. But I remember I had that because I had all the different types of game that you could shoot, and different firearms you could use and stuff like that. I had kind of completely forgotten about that. Rabbi never missed on Oregon Trail. So we have got about 5 minutes left in the show, everybody. If you have any last minute questions, comments, things you want to get in before the end of the year, let me know. Again, this is going to be my last live show in 2023. And the last video of the year is going to be, I don't know if I said this before, it's going to be my annual video where I pick my favorite firearm that's come into my collection in the last year. So it'll be my favorite firearm of 2023. And this is going to be a pretty good one. I actually had quite a few new firearms that I acquired during the course of the year. So I hope you all enjoy that one. Again, it's either going to be on Friday the 29th or Saturday the 30th of December, just depending on which way I decide to go. But that's coming up. That will be the final video, as I said, of the year. And then we'll kick things off fresh and new, hit the ground running in 2024. And I've got a lot of things planned for 2024. Some of them I've kind of been waiting to get into. We'll have the SHOT Show coming up. I won't be there. At least I don't expect to be there unless somebody hint, unless maybe my friends at Optics Planet want to fly me out there so I can attend and pick up the hotel room and all that. All expense paid trip to Vegas. How about that? But I don't expect that to happen. I'm just joking. But SHOT Show will be coming up, so we'll see some new things coming out with that in January. I am planning on attending the NRA annual meeting, which is very similar to the SHOT Show, which is going to be down in Texas coming up in, can't remember if that's late April or May this year. It used to always be like the last weekend in April, but I think it might be in May this year. So if any of you are planning on attending that and you happen to see me there, be sure to say hi. So be heading down there. Otherwise, we'll just kind of see what comes in the new year, and hopefully we'll all be here at this time next year talking about whatever the year of 2024 had in store for us. Scott from South Carolina, virtual reality might be the next thing. Yeah, I got mixed feelings on that. I saw a TV commercial this morning where they were talking about virtual reality workouts, where it showed this guy wearing the goggles and he was punching these things that were flying at him, and they were talking about how great that was going to be. I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Goldenrod, and to everyone I see who is putting the Christmas wishes on here. Floridian, are you carrying the Masada 9S for your primary care? Yeah, that's typically yes. I went up to visit ERJG the other day, and I was carrying my Masada 9S because I never know what kind of trouble he might get me into. But no, that's typically what I'm carrying. Although I still, still my most carried firearm to this day is my Smith & Wesson 342 Ti 38 Special J frame, because it is just so easy when I'm running to the store, going to do this, going to do that, running an errand, whatever, to drop that thing in my pocket and I'm off and running. So that still is the one that I reach for most often. But I carry my Masada 9S a lot. I actually carry the Tizosh Tank Commander quite a bit because it's just such a cool firearm. And I like it so much. It's been extremely reliable. So that one goes with me a lot of times. Rabbi, virtual reality sucks. Paul Puglia, you and your family have a safe and happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well. Six Gun Slinging, hope you have a great New Year too. And I think we have arrived just about at the 1 hour mark. So I am going to start to wrap things up. I actually have some things to do, so I got to get going here to include some last minute shopping. But all of you have a happy Christmas time. So I sound like I'm from the UK saying Happy Christmas. Have a great Christmas. To my Jewish friends out there, hope you had a happy Hanukkah. To anyone who celebrates anything else this year, I hope it is tremendous for you. I hope you get to celebrate it with friends and family, and I hope it is just fantastic. Have a safe and happy new year, all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support of the channel, not just in 2023, but over the course of the last 11 years that I have been producing videos and that I've had the channel. To my channel members, a special thank you to you, as always, for that contribution you make to the channel every month. There are so many times that I just would not have the means to do the things that I'm going to do, when YouTube starts to demonetize everything, without those contributions I get from all of you. So thank you very much for that. To all of you as well who have made, individual contributions during the live streams, or going to the videos and they've got that what's it called now, special thanks, or whatever the name is, made a contribution on the individual videos. Thank you for that as well. And that's about all I can say. Thanks to all of you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I'll see you in 2024. And as always, until then, good shooting, everyone. Bye-bye.